It's super important. I think with like general contracting and also on the moving side, you're in people's homes.
Yeah.
You're in people's personal spaces. So having that reputation, I'd rather pay for peace of mind,
Yeah.
right? And I'm sure a lot of clients would too. I mean, there's always that cheaper company that's going to do things
Yeah.
cheaper.
Yeah, and a lot of times people tell me, oh, like, I want to pay you hourly. I used to do the hourly, but
Yeah.
that's where the surprises happen.
Right.
Like you tell them, hey, pay me hourly. It's going to be $5,000, ends up being $10,000. I'm not a big fan of hourly because when it comes to hourly, like if I got to go to Home Depot to buy your material, you're paying me my time.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, it's a job, but one guy told me once, he was like, Oscar, I'm going to pay you to go Home Depot. And I was like, look, man, I'll go to Home Depot for you and you go buy my groceries. And he just laughed and said, send me the bill.
All right, guys. So here we have it again on the Clutch Podcast. Today we have Mr. Amador with Amador Construction. Did I say that right?
Amador General Construction.
Amador General Construction. Awesome. So thank you for coming on. So what I like to kind of do in the beginning of the podcast is kind of, introduce yourself and then tell them a little about yourself, how you got into the business, and then where you're kind of at right now in the business.
All right, yeah, my name's Oscar Amador, but like he said, everybody likes to say Amador, but it's all good. I'm a general construction business in the Bay Area, and we do all interior, exterior from the ground up, and mostly residential, little commercial, and right now we have about 8 projects going on. About 8 projects, and building a brand new house in Pacifica. I got 3 remodels in San Francisco, a commercial project for Goodwill in Oakland, and we go all over the Bay, from South to we got a job in Blackhawk.
Oh, and, nice.
Wherever money calls, like you.
Gotcha. Now, how did you get into the business?
So basically, my how do I say this? So basically, my dad was a builder, my grandpa was a builder. But I started in landscaping. And I have 3 uncles who have a landscaping license. So since I was a kid, we're Mexicans, a kid, there's like, you go to school, weekends you go to work if you don't have sports, so every, since I was small, either it was my dad or my uncles every Saturday, Sunday, 8 years old, picking up base rock buckets, digging. We used to hate it. Now I love to dig, because I barely do it and I need a workout.
Right.
But so when I saw that and I saw my dad, he was very handy, very handy. And then all my friends, anytime they needed something, they would say, hey, let's go to Oscar's dad. That guy could fix anything, So, he was a great father for 10 years, and I was always very proud of everything he built, Like, he was a very good hands-on, So when I saw that, he always wanted to have his own business, too. And as I was a kid, I was like, one day I'm going to be a builder. I really liked the building. I did the landscaping, didn't like it. It was too dirty. But, it's... I always say my roots are in landscaping. In the dirty work, that's where we come from. But when I was 16 years old, my parents got divorced. My dad left, so he left me with 3 kids. He left me with 3 kids, and school wasn't really an option. So it was when the economy was going bad, 2008, 2009, something like that. And so I dropped out of high school, beginning of junior year, and I went to full time. Full time, and I started out at Cow Palace. Cow Palace, it was, we were basically the janitors. We were getting paid as janitors, but we were doing, hey, like, come help us fix this, handy stuff. They knew Oscar could do it, because I was like, God damn, I'm getting a janitor wage, but I'm over here
Doing everything.
But it was a good learning experience there, So I was working there a lot, day and night, and then after work I was going to janitor also. Weekends was like I basically had like 3 or 4 jobs part time. From when I was 16, 18 years old.
In the janitor
And
side?
it was in the janitor, landscaping, and construction. Because it was when the economy was bad, so you were going whatever you could get. And being an immigrant, well, I couldn't even get a job before getting a regular job.
Right.
So it's not being able to get a job. It was tough. So you like I said, you're jumping job to job, just cash. People word of mouth. But when I was doing that, I told my mom, I said, hey, let's do our business cards. I was 16 years old. Let's do our business cards. I'll put handyman and I'll do some for you. Let's say house cleaning. She was always a very good cleaner, and we were making ends meet. So
Sorry to cut you off real quick.
Go
So
ahead.
at this point, it's you and mom's.
Yeah.
And then you have
3 siblings.
3 siblings.
Yes.
And then are you the oldest out of all of them?
Yes, I'm the oldest. I have a sister who's 3 years younger, another sister who's about 12 years younger, and a brother who's 15 years younger. At that point, it was only them 3, and then when my mom remarried, she had another baby. She's 7 now, but she didn't see the struggle. But
Right. So you were supporting at that young age of what you were anywhere from 16 to 18.
16, yeah.
You were already essentially the man of the house
Yeah.
and supporting 3 of your siblings and working with moms.
Yeah, so basically, I haven't called my mom in 15 years, not because of bad reason, but in Spanish or any Latin culture, when somebody's old, they say doña or don. Let's say you're old, you're Don Steven, or Don Oscar. So I used to make fun of my mom. I would tell her, hey, I'm gonna call you Doña Tere. Her name was Teresa. So I started calling her Doña Tere because it wasn't like a mom-son relationship, because it was basically like, okay, we're both adults, how we're 2 adults, so we have to take care of 3 kids.
Right.
So we would basically, it's not like you're having like bill talks. You're having talks, hey, like if rent at that time, if it was $700 rent, we had $500.
Right.
So when you're going through that struggle, you're trying to find work, you're just like, it's not like, hey, mom, I just got home from a baseball game. How did it go, son? Like it wasn't, those talks basically stopped when I was dropping out of high school. So I became the man of the house, my 3 siblings, and my brother was Run, 1 year old, my brother, and I basically, raised them,
Right. So from now you're at 16 to 18. You just made those business cards for your mother's house. You in house cleaning,
Yeah.
and then you did the handyman. How did that kind of translate and then grow from there?
So basically, we were walking miles. I would we lived in San Mateo, and I was like, let's go to Hillsborough. You start El Camino, you walk up to Black Mountain Road, the whole mountain, you go in house to house, and you think because they're rich houses, they're going to get a good job. But at that point, like, nobody called, and I would go in Burlingame, San Mateo, nobody would call. And I was like, God damn.
So when you're what were you doing with those business cards?
So basically, I drop them in the mailbox.
Okay.
I drop
So
them.
was it those small little
It's a
square?
standard business card. What is it? 2-inch wide by 4-inch wide.
Okay. So you were going to house, dropping
to
off
house.
business cards inside of these places, and right now you're at 17. You're what, 17, 18 at this age, and then how long were you doing that for?
So we did that. Like I said, in the beginning it was tough. Nobody would call, but I never gave up. I told my mom, hey, like somebody's gonna call one day. Somebody I met at that time, he said, hey man, all you need is 1 call. He says 1 call could change a lot. And I was like, okay, so you keep in faith, and then I go to San Francisco. I'm throwing cards. Still, me and my mom. Little by little, somebody will call. But it was one realtor who got me a lot of work.
How did you meet that realtor?
I think it was landscaping.
Okay.
Landscaping job.
But was that from the actual business card that you had dropped off?
Yeah.
Do you remember where that business card was dropped off at? Like,
yes, because I still pass by the house and I tell my guys all the time, hey, that was one of the first houses by Twin Peaks.
okay.
Yeah, by Twin Peaks. It was a that one was one of my first starting points where I got more clients. That house. It was a brick house. And they were like, hey, I want you to make it smooth. And I was like, okay, like I did my best. It was okay. Okay job. It passed. I got paid.
Right.
But it wasn't bad for 18 years old. But that one call got me a lot of connections. It got me a lot of connections, and it's just crazy. That's the advice I tell people now, because don't get me wrong, we probably don't throw business cards now. I do more flyers, but maybe like when I see work's going to slow down a bit, I tell my guys, hey, let's go throw flyers. You never know.
Right.
And but one thing I did do, when I tell them all the time, was when I started, it wasn't about the money. When I started, I knew that I wanted to build something. So I was like, let's say I'm walking up El Camino, right? There's a house right there that looks all beat up, needs a paint job. The fence is falling down.
Right.
So basically, I would put, I would build your fence this much. I would power wash your house and I'll leave it would be cheap, very cheap. And some people did call, hey, I got your business card. You said you could do it for, I think I used to put, hey, pay me $20 an hour,
Oh shit, yeah.
Like I was just hungry to work because I had to feed people.
Right.
And then that was the tough part. It was like, it wasn't about, at that point you're like, hey, I want to be a contractor. I want to have a business. Yeah, it's on the mind. But at that point, you were just like I was picking up dog shit at Cal Palace,
Right.
Like it wasn't about, we just needed money to eat. So that gave me a lot of hunger and fire in me. That when I started, people started saying, hey, great job. My friend's going to call me. I was like, oh shit, I was happy. I was like, oh damn, so you put more effort to that's what gave my fire to get to where I am today.
Wow. So at a young age, you were essentially doing guerrilla marketing, where you're just out there pounding the pavement and then doing that. That's crazy. I would never even think. I've actually heard that from somebody else. Was actually my cleaner. She would do that and put the business cards in there. And then she would get calls every now and then. Now you say you're doing flyers now. Do you know if business comes from those flyers?
I did probably 500 flyers like 2 years ago, and nobody called. But I think I just it was just because, like I said, same thing. It's a leap of faith that you're like, hey, got nothing to do right now. And I love to run.
Right.
So I'm like, I'll run to my starting point and I'll run back home.
Right.
So it was something like I'm always trying to, especially I think when that work is slowing down, or 3 months, we're only booked for 3 months. That's when I start to figure out to okay, we got to make more calls. We got to book more jobs. But I think I only did 500 flyers once. I've done more of the cards. I did that for a while. And then I remember my first call. It was I didn't get the job. My first call was 16 years old.
16 years old.
16 years old. I dropped the card on Glen Park. Glen Park. I was in San Mateo, and a guy called me. He was like, "Hey, Oscar, my water heater is not working. Can you fix it?" Get me? I'm 16 years old and I don't know nothing about water heaters, right? But I'm a hungry kid who's gonna take the chance. And I told the guy, what's wrong with your water heater? Oh, it's leaking. Oh, okay, I'll be there in 1 hour. I get my bike from San Mateo. I bike to Millbrae BART. From Millbrae BART to Glen Park, I take BART. On the way, I check on YouTube.com. Why does my water heater leak? Right? So when I'm there, I'm looking at it. Okay, all right. I get off Glen Park. I bike to the job. I get there, I sell myself, I didn't get the job, right? But what I tell my guys is that I didn't get the job, but from that point on, I saw God damn, everything's on YouTube. Everything's on Google, everything's on YouTube. Even though I didn't get the job, I presented myself well. He didn't give me the job. So from that point on, I started using YouTube for everything. And that was the what I would do. I would tell people over the phone, oh, what's wrong? Oh, my door's falling off. Where at? Oh, the hinge. Okay, and I would put how to fix a hinge, at least to pretend you knew, but it didn't always work, but I never left no client hanging.
Mm-hmm.
And even if that hinge was, I charged them $60, I probably spent $20 to go and come back.
Right.
$40 left, right? For maybe a 5-hour headache that I couldn't fix.
Right.
But I learned my lesson, and that's what I'm trying to get to is that it's not always about the money. It's about keeping your word.
Right.
That's a big key and I think all those struggles was always like, hey, like, do good things happen.
Right.
So,
what you put in is what you kind of get back out on there.
Yes.
So that water heater, why didn't you get the job?
I think I didn't get the job because I was young.
You're young.
Yeah, because at that point, you're still, like I said, I didn't have no facial hair.
Uh-huh.
No facial hair. And I remember I kind of looked at it, but I think you could tell the guy wasn't very sold. Because even when I left, I was like, I might not get the job back, and I biked my ass back to Glen Park to go home.
But that's hunger right there. Like, you hear, this story that you're telling me, biking to Millbrae Bart, then taking, because Glen Park to San Mateo, if you drive there, that's like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. But doing that whole process with a bike, Millbrae, that's like 2 hours of your day. And then you're driving back, and then you don't get the job, but you learned your lessons from there.
You learned my lesson, and because now people say, "Oh, why do you have so many trucks?" I struggled. Well, my whole life, my parents never had a truck growing up, car, nothing. Right? It was always bus. So that was something that taught me, hey, you got to go to point A to B. I don't care if it's raining, if it's 110 degrees. There's no car. We're gonna walk.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. If we got to work, I don't care if it's raining or hot. We're working because you're used to. As a kid, if you wanted to eat, we got to go. My mom said, okay, we got to go to Costco. We get her food. She didn't care if it was raining. We had no car, no taxi, nothing. Get the food, load up and down in the bus, get off the bus, put all the food on the stroller, walked home. And I had a lot of friends that used to make fun of me when I was in school because they would see me and my mom do that.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, I'm still cool with some of them, and we laugh about it. Like I say, you're a kid. It's like you're not gonna hold grudges for kids. We all, But it's something. I think it's life lessons that sometimes build who
character.
You are.
It builds a lot of character.
Yeah,
those upbringings build a lot of character
Yeah.
for anybody, just depending on how you're, brought up. I have an idea of sometimes people act differently because they were brought up differently.
Yeah.
And I think that's that plays a huge aspect on there. Now, as far as marketing, and your business, before this we were kind of talking about how many projects you have, and also that it's super busy on the residential general contracting side. What are you doing right now to get more business?
Right now, I think I do more now of like events. Like right now I did the shopping carts at Safeway.
Okay.
On in South City, and we're doing like. I'm going to do a turkey giveaway with Juan Toscano in Oakland.
Okay.
Him and, there's a lot of in church events sometimes they have there's fundraisers or things like that. I'm starting to like that more because I do get more calls. Mm-hmm. That way, I stopped the business cards. I stopped the flyers. I stopped that 2 years ago. Until my last flyers was 500 flyers 2 years ago. Thankfully, right now, we're booked most of next year already.
Wow.
Yeah, thankfully. So basically, I don't really push hard on marketing until I'm at that 3-month mark when I'm oh shit, okay, I got 3 months left of work. I gotta
keep going.
Gotta figure out what to do. But I'm starting to like the events more.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing more of right now.
So it sounds like you're big in the community.
I want to give back because, like I said, I struggled a lot with my siblings and my mom.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to see a family smile, me and my mom had a lot of bad nights, bad holidays, no birthdays, So anytime you help out a family, it's big on me.
Right.
That's what I love to do.
That's great. So how is mom's right now? Does she still have the cleaning business? What does that look like?
So that my mom, hers didn't last too long because it was to the point where we wanted whatever we could get.
Right.
You know, so now thankfully she's been with my stepdad 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully he's taken over since like I got married 7 years ago. So
Okay.
he's taken over, you know, my siblings love him. He's a great guy. And he's my painter too now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he works with us. So now thankfully after the bad years my mom had, she's it's great to see her happy, you know.
Right. Yeah, that's an amazing story that
Yeah.
you kind of started off from the bottom and then really worked your way up, and then kind of got to where you're at now. So after you kind of went through those struggles, like I know that becoming a general contractor, from what I hear, there's a lot of time and effort and licensings that you have to get in order to get that. Like you have to start off right here and then you work your way up. But once you work your way up, like it's huge. Like it's huge money.
It's huge money, hopefully eventually.
Like that with any business, right?
Yeah, you know. No, but don't get me wrong. I think the reason I got my license was because I was working for my old boss. You know, I had two bosses that were great, you know, and I was basically a handyman, right? So basically my company was O's Handyman and Landscaping. That's what I called it, right, in the beginning.
Okay.
You know, and people are like, hey, Oscar, like, you're doing work that it's a contractor, general contractor. You know, like, yeah, but I'm not a contractor. Like, I'm not going to tell people, oh, I'm a general contractor if I ain't got the license.
Right.
You know, like, I know I'm a handyman. You know, that's what I am. And they're like, oh, okay, you know. So the first time I tried to check if I could get my license, it was people would say, oh, you need to be a U.S. citizen. Okay. You need to have papers, you know. So being an immigrant, you're like, okay, like, technically I can't even fucking work here, so why the hell am I even trying to get a license, you know? But one day I was going to get my haircut top of the hill in Daly City.
Yep.
And I'm walking, and I look at the school. It was right there, the contractor school. And it said, oh, yeah, you know, like immigration now allows immigrants to get a general contractor just with their I-10. I was like, oh, damn, that's pretty cool. Like, what the hell? I didn't know that. So the next day I called the school. And I was like, hey, you know, like, I want to apply to get my contractor license, you know, like, is it true? Like, I just need my I-10. No, yeah, you know, now it's, you're okay. You just need your I-10. So I said, sign me up. I signed up right there. They're like, it's, I forgot how much it was for the books license. I paid it. They said, when you want to start? I said, yesterday. You know, so they were like, I started in 3 months. I did the school. I think it's 3 months more. Studied for 6. I took the test in early December, the first time. You know, I failed the first time, and I got it the second time. You know, I don't know why a lot of contractors are ashamed to say they failed the first time. It's okay. You know, like, I failed the first time, passed the second time. And when you drop out of high school, you don't have a degree, right? You don't have a degree. You don't have nothing. You don't know what it's like to have a graduation party. Mm-hmm. So when I saw the screen say pass, like, I was at that point the happiest I think I've been, besides like when I got married, you know, like, but I think like it was bigger than, you know, I played sports my whole life. It was bigger than any game I've ever played, you know, because it was just that feeling like, wow, you know, like you got something, you know, like after all the struggles, you know, you got to celebrate that you have something.
Right.
You know, so yeah, I got my license, and at that point, I was already working for myself. I had left my boss like a year before that, I think. Mm-hmm. Full time, yeah, because I've been doing this full time now. I'm gonna go on year 7.
Okay.
Full time, but like I said, part time, 15 plus years. You know.
Right.
So it's and like you say, yeah, people say, yeah, it's more money, but it's also more stress. Licenses, more fees, more taxes, more everything.
Just got to charge more.
You got to charge more. But I think, like I said, when you finally feel like you win something, it's like it felt good to say, hey, no, like I'm not a handyman anymore, but I'm your GC now.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
big.
Yeah, that's big, you know. So I think it was very big on me, you know, to get that.
Now, how much of an impact do you think that from your father from the very beginning? How much did that push you? And then, if you don't mind me asking, are you resentful of him, or do you still talk to him to this day?
The way, you know how they say, so it's when you're 16 years old and life throws you a curveball, you wonder why, like why this, why that, you tell God why, you lose faith. But now, when you look at it now in today's world, or today's day, it's it's something that it made me who I am,
Mm-hmm.
And I told my wife, I was like, if he never left, like I wouldn't be what I'm doing today, maybe my fire wouldn't be there,
Right.
and maybe I think it's been 8 years probably since we've probably hung out, but I've given him, I forgave him like before I got married. Before I got married, I was like, like I forgave him. I told God, I was like, you know what, like, because I'm gonna become a husband, and you're like, well, you don't know what life's gonna throw you, So now that I'm gonna be a husband, I told him, hey, like, that just call it truth, like, he was a great father for 10 years.
Right.
Great father for 10 years, and so when I did that, I think we were both in peace. And probably in the last year, I've probably given him like some small jobs, like I've given him some work.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say we're tight, and he knows that, but I've at least tried to like at least try to help with what I can, like if he said, hey, like I want to work some days, I'll give him some days, but at least you're, like I said, it's a growing lesson.
Right.
You have to learn to grow. In the past, it is what it is, and you got to move forward,
Right. And I can kind of like relate to that as well too. When I was in high school, I was a track and cross country star, and we
still are, no?
I still run every single day, but back then I was running a lot more, anywhere from like 10 to 15 miles a day.
Yeah.
And that's created a lot of discipline in my life. But I got injured, right? I got injured, and I was supposed to run collegiately. I was supposed to run for like UCLA, top D1 colleges. But my thought process is, if I never got injured, then I would never be at the position on where I'm at right now. Yeah. But also, running and doing those tasks and those hard tasks when you don't want to get up every single day, that created a lot of discipline and structure in my life. And I, use that, and that's conveyed into my business, day in and day out.
No, yeah, because running, I love to run. And then when I see you, I'm like, God damn, this guy running again? Like, I wake up, I'm like 10 miles done already.
But, there's like a endorphins, like, I don't know if you get it, but when I get it, like, I get endorphins when I'm running, and I feel super chill and relaxed for the rest of the day. If I had stress, the stress goes away and everything like that. How do you feel when you run?
Yeah, that's funny, because before I got here, I told my wife, hey, tonight I have to go run at the gym, because it's been I wouldn't say a bad week, just a little stressful more than usual. Because you have holidays coming up, rain next week, so more people are on you, So I was like, I ran yesterday, and I was like, I'm gonna run again today, because like you say, it's that sweat, that I don't get at work like I used to. I have to go get it somewhere else,
right?
So it's I love it too. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's something that you need mentally, because of the stress, the people, like you're talking to 100 people a day.
Right.
I got to be the same person.
Right.
The first guy might be pissed off at 8 a.m. I see another guy at 10 a.m. in a good mood to end my day at 4 o'clock, my last meeting. That guy could be pissed as hell. Not at me, but his mood.
Right.
So then you leave your day following that meeting.
Right.
Like the way they feel. So I have to be the same person.
Right.
So it's something that you really have to, like, mentally wise, be prepared.
Right.
Every day, no matter what A, B, C said to you, you got to be you.
Yeah.
Not easy, but like you say, running helps you sleep at night.
It definitely does. I mean, I don't, like, the one thing that I really do love about running so much is that, you're by yourself, and some of my best thoughts come when I'm running. And like some of the best ideas come from when I'm running, or if I have a problem or anything like that, it comes from when I'm running. Do you kind of relate to that too?
Yes, it's I go to Oyster Point. I see they like to go all over the place.
I like to go all over the place, yeah.
Yeah, but me, I used to be Lake Merced growing up.
Yep.
Used to be Lake Merced, but now that I'm closer to Oyster Point, that's where I'll take my dog.
Yeah.
And like middle of the day, like either before lunch or after lunch, I have to go. and I just have to like I put my AirPods on and I'm just trying to think. You know, okay, like first half of the day this happened. What am I gonna do? Second half, what am I gonna do tomorrow? What am I gonna do next month? Basically, it's my peace of mind. I tell my wife, you know, it's a peace of mind that you're preparing yourself for what's coming.
Right.
You
No,
know?
for sure. I do the same. And I know a lot of people that do run, they kind of do the same. And that's what they use that outlet for. Now, let's kind of talk about, stuff in like, in general contracting, some things that I do hear about. I don't know if it's true or not, but, there's so many negative connotations about general contractors, right? Also in the moving industry, like, for example, negative connotations would be movers steal stuff.
Yeah.
They break stuff. What the people they send out to your place, they're felons or dangerous.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the negative connotations, because I hear like, oh, general contractors, they charge too much. They say this, they say that. There's also memes about general contractors.
Yeah.
Like, can you kind of elaborate on that?
I think the big one I've gotten a lot is when I go give a price, right?
Right.
And then I give them my price and everything. And then, like you say, sometimes they'll say you charge too much, this and that. But the surprise one is when I tell them, oh, yeah, I'm going to be here, like let's say if it's, well, I guess my favorite thing, framing, right? That's my favorite thing to do. I want to be there with the guys because I love it. I get to get a sweat. Mm-hmm. So when I tell them, my guys, I tell the client, I'm going to be here framing, they look at me shocked. And I was like, what happened? You're going to work? And I was like, yeah, why? Don't general contractors just drive around like you're literally you know how to work? And I'm like, what the heck, So it's like that's the big one that I get a lot, from people. They're surprised that, don't get me wrong, I don't really put the bags on Monday through Friday as much. So weekends, I try to get my sweat by working, and but that's the big one I get is am I gonna be working physically? Or two is, like you said, they're afraid if you're going to rob. They want to know, like, how long everybody's been with you. I've been blessed with a great team. It's taken a while to create it. But a lot of guys, I have one of the guys been with me 10 years. Mm-hmm. So when somebody hears, oh, this guy's been with you 10 years, 6 years, it puts them at a peace sometimes, So it's, I think building a great team, but keeping your people longevity will help you a lot get jobs, because that's like people are very afraid of that. Like, are they felons? I've never been asked if they're felons, not yet, but it's something that they're always very picky about. Like, and I've also told them, I was like, look, if you leave $1,000 there, it's gonna be there when you get back home. Mm-hmm. And it's something that you hope it's there when you come back.
Right.
But if it's not, that you being the CEO, owner, GC, whatever you want to call it, is gonna
reimburse them
or put that money back before they show up and then deal with it.
Right.
But it's I think those have been the biggest ones. Those, and the funny one is I lied about my age for a lot of years. I lied about my age, and it was when one guy, he bent me when I was 21, right? I told him I was 25.
Okay.
And for the longest time, he never really asked me every year how old you turn, but he knew me. It's a client that keeps giving me work. And when I finally turned 25, I told him, hey, boss, I was like, what's up? I'm going to turn 25 tomorrow. He was like, oh, I know. And I was like, how do you know? I was like, you think when you were 20, I thought you were 25? But that's a big one where it's people, they're always the age. Uh-huh. The age is... sometimes, but now thankfully I'm 30 now, but
right. So,
but I think those are the only things that have affected me sometimes. Is
I've always heard one where it's like, number one is, okay, you're gonna charge me this much, but my bill ends up being 10 times as more.
Yeah.
And then also another one that I heard is like, are my general contractors going to be there, or why did the finish date get pushed back? Can you kind of elaborate on those two, and why does that happen?
Those two, a lot of on my contract, I like to put when prices escalate on my contract, I put is usually it's only going to be if there's dry rot, that you find when you open up, that will be a surprising charge. I've heard that one a lot from people, and to be honest, a lot of people, just to get the jobs, they'll tell you they know already the price is going to be more. But just to get the job, they'll tell you, hey, like it's 100,000, and they know it's going to be 120. And the reason I say is because how do I say? I knew a guy.
Mm-hmm.
He got fined by the
GC board.
GC board. Yeah. And he used to do this. I was like, sometimes he would tell me, hey, like I'm gonna charge 20 grand for this, and I'm like, God damn, how the hell? Like that job's not worth 20 grand. Like it's 25, 30.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was always having problems. So that's something that I saw from him that I wanted to know. Like, okay, why the hell is he doing this? And then you were here, like I said, that's a big one. You hear from people all the time.
Yeah.
But with me, it hasn't affected me yet because I think that I'm very detailed. Like if you're gonna put here, like you paint it, you put a wall, you put a trim. I'm very detailed to like even to the type of screw I'm gonna use sometimes. So it's I think that happens to the people that aren't detailed under contract. Mm-hmm. You have to make sure you really read over every detail. Like the more sometimes clients tell me, "Oh, I'm asking too many questions." I was like, "No, the more questions you ask, the more I know that if there is a change order, then we know that it's something that it's gonna be because of different cause, not because it's surprise."
Right.
But it's people do ask me all the time, "Oh, any surprise charge?" And I tell them like, "No, the only surprise is if we find dry rot.
Right.
It's in my contract. The only surprise is dry rot because if I'm gonna demo a kitchen, I know every step. Mm-hmm. We've done by over 100 kitchens already.
Right.
I know every step on the kitchens. Bathrooms, remodels. It's the only surprise is always drywall.
Right.
Dry rot, sorry.
So you essentially over communicate with your clients. Is what
I like to,
which is good.
Yeah,
yeah, it's good.
Like home remodels. Like when was it? Probably the last big home remodel. Probably about 4 hours going over the contract.
Mm-hmm. Oh shit.
Yeah, that's what we do. So we sit in the kitchen table, and I tell them, look, this is this. And what I do is, like, let's say you send a DocuSign, right? I'll send them first a draft of the contract. Mm-hmm. Here's a draft. Check it out. If you have any questions, let me know. And then if they have no questions, they say it looks good, I'll do the DocuSign on site. Mm-hmm. I do the DocuSign on site most of the times, and I go over every detail.
Right.
Because it's, don't get me wrong, like, I'm not saying I've never tell them, hey, it's going to be extra. It happens, but
it happens.
But I think if you want to, I'm going to do this for 40 years more. If I want to do this for 40 years, you can't screw people.
Right.
And it starts in the contract, and it starts by, like you said, is that $1,000 going to be there when I come back home?
Right.
Because once you do that, your rep goes down.
Hey guys, if you really like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. This will help the channel grow drastically. Share this to 5 different people that you think can benefit from it. Now back to the video. It's super important, I think, with like general contracting and also on the moving side, you're in people's homes. Yeah. You're in people's personal spaces. So having that reputation, I'd rather pay for peace of mind, right? And I'm sure a lot of clients would too. I mean, there's always that cheaper company that's going to do things cheaper.
Yeah, and a lot of times people tell me, oh, like I want to pay you hourly. I used to do the hourly, but that's where the surprises happen.
Right.
Like you tell them, hey, pay me hourly, it's going to be $5,000, ends up being $10,000. I'm not a big fan of hourly because when it comes to hourly, like if I got to go to Home Depot to buy your material, you're paying me my time.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, it's a job, but one guy told me once, he was like, Oscar, I'm going to pay you to go Home Depot. And I was like, look, man, I'll go to Home Depot for you, and you go buy my groceries. And he just laughed and said, send me the bill.
That's a good way to put it, right?
Yeah, so I think that's why time and material, everything get like shop time, like the guys go pick up the stuff. Uh-huh. That's overhead shop time you got to charge.
Right.
So, and at T&M, people like, hey, why are you charging me 10 hours if the guys were here for 8 hours? But when you give a bid, you got to think about, I got to pay my guy to take the truck, load up, and if he has to go back, is he taking garbage?
Right.
He has to put that garbage away.
Uh-huh.
It's still on your clock, so I think that's why I'm not saying I don't do it. I try not to do it.
Right.
But that's where I've had more surprises with T&M.
So as far as because your guys' price tickets or tickets for bids and everything like that, they're pretty high, right?
Right now, yeah.
What is a typical ticket cost for like a project, and how long does that project typically last? Like for us, on average, we're moving, 2-bedroom, 1 to 2-bedroom place. It could be anywhere from like 5 to 6 hours, and they're paying anywhere from like 15 to 2,000. I think our average ticket for this month is about 2,300. What do you guys kind of do?
So basically, I think so people could understand better. Basically, a bathroom remodel. You used to do a bathroom remodel 20 grand, right? Used to. Now, bathroom remodels on average for us is about 40 grand.
40 grand?
Yeah, bathrooms, Don't get me wrong, I'm doing a lot of higher end work now too, So, and kitchens. The last kitchen remodel I did, that one was about 120,000 labor, rough materials.
So just the overhead on it,
yeah,
120,000.
Labor, rough materials, 120. The owner spent about 80 grand on finished materials, and that's the last, the one that I last posted on my Instagram, the one with the pitched roof,
okay,
all the windows,
okay,
and that's a kitchen. Don't get me wrong, that kitchen type of kitchen has a lot of work, but on average, labor, rough materials, a lot of our kitchens are between 60, 70. Labor, rough materials does not include cabinets, appliances, but just like and the reason I say labor, rough materials is because when I go see a job, I'm not that big firm. They have build, design, and all that stuff. So I tell people, hey, I'm going to give you a labor, rough materials. They already know how much their cabinets are going to be. They know how much their countertops are going to be.
When you say labor, rough materials, sorry to cut you off. Mm-hmm. Like, what does that mean? To kind of dumb it down to me.
So basically, labor, rough materials, every client asks. Just
yeah, sorry.
Sorry, but no, yeah. Labor, rough materials is all the labor, overhead, everything. Rough materials is everything outside of the wall. So basically, here you would provide the paint, doors, trim, carpet.
Okay.
Besides that, to get this done, I would provide everything else. And the reason sometimes I do my bids like that is because you could buy Home Depot paint.
Uh-huh.
It's expensive now too.
Yeah.
$50-$60 a gallon, or people want to go to Benjamin Moore, it's $100, the higher end. So I tell people, I was like, at least a labor, rough materials. Yes, I'll give them allowances sometimes. Like, I estimate you're going to spend on finished materials, so they have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I mean about that kitchen job. It was about 120 labor, rough materials. And the owner provided everything that was outside of the
So when you give that labor, rough materials quote, is that including like your profit on there, or?
Yeah. So basically, it's the whole everything. It's the overhead, the profit, everything.
Everything. So okay, got it. Yeah. Now, as far as your jobs, because they're so long, and you say you don't charge by the hourly rate. Is there a certain profit margin that you're trying to hit on there? Because with us, we have hourlies or flat rates, and we typically like to do hourlies because sometimes it's hard to see the logistics on the move. Like, what do you have to target on there to make sure that your company's profiting? And then also, like, what measures do you use? Like, are you just going out there and saying this, and this, and by experience, or do you have something you can calculate by?
We want to profit minimum 30.
Okay.
Doesn't always happen, but you try to hit at least minimum 30%. And kitchens, bathrooms, I kind of calculated by how big the kitchen is, the amount of cabinets. Sorry, and kind of almost like a square footage type of thing.
Okay.
And that's a big learning experience. I've lost a lot of money.
I have too. I've lost a shit ton of money.
I've lost a lot of money, and so I think that's when I say mentally, you have to be prepared because it's you lose a lot of money like that.
Yeah, and it's not like sometimes we'll go negative. There's sometimes like a lot of the times the projects will break even.
Yeah.
But it's like, dang, I start to think back like I shouldn't have taken that project because I was just money hungry and I just really wanted it. But when you really like scope out the project and you really understand, what it is to do, I feel like you're being of more service to the customer. Because sometimes if it's like you underbid it, we're just like, let's go, let's finish it up, and then that's when claims start to happen.
Yeah, and I think the reason, like in the beginning, I used to underbid. Don't get me wrong, sometimes we've still gone negative, it's
100%.
part of it. But in the beginning, when I was losing a lot of money, I was like, God damn, like, because 10,000, when you're a kid who couldn't pay $500 of rent, and you hear somebody, hey, $10,000 job, you're like, holy shit, $10,000, like it's big to you.
Yeah.
But it's not. Even $100,000 right now.
Yeah.
Like $100,000 gets you barely a kitchen.
Right.
So it's not I think that was my mistake, like, oh shit, like $10,000, and then when you do the job, we're like, holy shit, I got no money, and then I'm negative 1,000. Like, what the hell? So it's a big wake up call, and but like I said, the reason I'm more detailed now, because it's when you lose so much money, you try to take, okay, next job, okay, now I can't charge this, so I got to charge more. And even if at the second time you don't charge enough, you got to scale going up little by little, like, then that's when I say eventually the money will come out.
Right.
Once you get it down, right, perfect, but it's general construction is a big business, from interior, outside, commercial, like it's a lot to learn. It's a lot to learn. That's why I tell people it takes time. It takes time, but the big prize at the end, if you work your ass off, it'll pay off.
I mean, I seen on YouTube, it was like a while back, it was a general contractor who had he had a Lamborghini, and then this guy in San Francisco jumped on his Lamborghini and started stomping on it.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, this really caught my attention. I was wondering, what type of work did this guy do? He's in a $700,000 car. And then my business partner, he had told me, he was like, yeah, that guy's a general contractor. I said, holy shit.
God damn.
I was like, how much, what type of, how big is his projects? And I was always interested on general contractors on there. So it's pretty crazy,
No, yeah, it's crazy. And like, I think in general construction, you want to get to the point where you're doing high end, like
big projects.
Yeah, and that's where like I'm trying to build me and my team. Like we don't let like we take time for every piece of work. Sometimes there's one light under cabin light that we can't do because it needs to be perfect. For a lot of things have to line up.
Right.
In a regular home, somebody that doesn't know is not going to notice that detail. But when you're dealing with clients who are very, very to detail, like interior designers,
100%.
There's sometimes to the point where it's like everything matters, and it takes time to build the knowledge to, you might know how to do it in your head,
right?
But once your hands on, like, it needs to be perfect. Every detail matters, Like right now, I'm doing that job in Blackhawk. Everything in that house is very...
Blackhawk is a superb area.
Yeah, everything is very to detail. So far, it's going good. They're happy. But I never knew what the hell Blackhawk was. I was like, what the hell, like...
E40 lives there, right?
Yeah, E40. John Madden's house used to be there. And this designer I work with, he's like, hey, Oscar, you want to go do a job in Blackhawk? I was like, I never knew Blackhawk was. But... the reason I went, we even without knowing what Blackhawk was, I went is because when you build a relationship with designers or clients that give you a lot of work, they could send me to LA.
Right.
You don't want to lose that, because at the moment they meet somebody else, then you're in a competition.
Right.
But if once people build your trust, I've done jobs where I'll give one bid. I'll give a bid. And I say, if you need references, this and that. And I was like, no, you know so-and-so, I don't need a reference. Send me the contract.
Right.
So that's why when word of mouth means a lot to me. And I think to get to a certain level that you want with more money, word of mouth will get you quicker, better jobs.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people with money that they trust other people. Like, like... your business partner, like let's say I did a big job for him, he was very happy. Then I went, Oscar, can you come do my house? You'll only get one bid if he gave you a good a good reference about me.
100%.
You know, so I think that's the big deal. What I tell people is your worth is worth. Money's not gold. Your word is.
Right.
I tell my people all the time. You know, that's what's worth gold. You know, because that will take you far, far in life.
That's real. Yeah, and I can agree and attest to that as well, because our bigger jobs and our bigger projects, they come from referrals.
Yeah, you know.
They're not going to go like, I mean, maybe every now and then they might go online, they might go on Google and research from there. But if somebody else had that great experience, they're going to trust it. I'm the same way whenever I buy something too. And like if they say, oh yeah, I had a good experience with this, and they're my close friend that I can kind of trust, I'm going.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's one thing I tell my wife. You know, I'm the same way. If I want people to respect my price, I have to be the same.
Exactly.
You know, I have to be the same. Like if somebody tells me it's this much, like, don't get me wrong, when you're starting, you're looking for the cheaper subs, this and that, but cheap doesn't go far.
It doesn't.
You know, so that's one thing I want to know. Like if I build a relationship with you, I'm going to use you, you know, because it's the trust that matters.
Right.
You know, a lot of my subs build me a long time.
Uh-huh.
You know, they built me a long time. When COVID happened, I kept them all busy.
Right.
You know, we were blessed with a lot of work during COVID, and they know us. You know, like, let's say tomorrow, it's supposed to rain, right? Monday, Tuesday, whatever. And there's a big leak, and we have to go fix it. And I go fix it. I call my driver, go, hey, you know, like I need you to come here. They'll move everything and go for you.
Right.
Why? Because you build a relationship that, you know, you're gonna jump for your brothers.
Right.
You know, that the people that it's a team. It's not one way of the highway. You know, I tell them, hey, we're both on the same freeway.
Right.
You know, the moment you get off that exit, then bye-bye.
Right. I mean, you're building a really strong culture right there, you know? So, I mean, if it's mutual and it's vice versa and you guys still have that same mission, you know, then it works out.
Yeah, and especially in construction.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, you know, me and you are both in the service industry. So, like, you know, making sure that we take care of our clients is super important. Now, let me ask you this. As far as, like, some of your projects, what were some of, like, the craziest projects you've ever had?
And crazy, like, good crazy, bad crazy?
Yeah, good. I mean, either good crazy and a bad crazy. Like let's talk about your biggest project. What was your biggest project, and how long did something like that take? Just to put it in reference.
I think my biggest project that probably changed a lot of the way that I could sell myself. I did a job on Folsom Street. It was 3 units, and at that point, I mean, to this point, still the biggest job I've done. Basically, the whole project was 3 units. Labor, rough materials, and the finishes, everything. I think the owner spent almost $1 million.
Whew.
You know, it was close. I asked him about like 6 months ago how much was everything. I think it was about $1 million. So that project got me more clients. You know, the reason was because there was a lot of high-end work. It was structural work. You know, it was landscaping. There was the whole puzzle in one building. Mm-hmm. And everybody was happy. Any job I want to get, like people tell me you have a reference, I shoot him his number. The guy's very happy. You know, we still talk. You know, and that's the one job that changed a lot for me, and that's where I met the one of the designers that I know that gives me a lot of work. When I met him at that job, I was framing, and he comes up to me. He was like, "Hey, you know, like, can I get your number?" And I was like, "Okay, you know, like," and I asked, and then he was like, "You know why I asked you for a number?" And I was like, "Why?" Because your job sites are very clean. And I was like, okay. In my head, I'm like, okay, thank you, like, whatever, you know, here's my number. And then I went downstairs in my truck, and I said, hey, you know, yeah, boss, you know, call me whenever, you know, like, I'll go look at your jobs. Oh, okay, but just letting you know, I have 5 contractors. And I turned around, I was like, okay, I'm going to be your number one day. I told him just like that. I'm going to be your number one day. Mm-hmm. And he smirked at me and said, okay. And I was like, okay. About a year and a half, he told me I was his number one guy now. It was all high-end work. Yeah. Yeah, you know, so because it was, I'm not going to say it was a cocky move because I'm very humble, but I'm a big Kobe Bryant guy. Okay. You know, I'm a diehard Laker fan, not a Warrior guy. My wife is, but even my dog, his name is Kobe Frijol, because frijol is in Spanish is bean. Okay. So Kobe bean, you know, and I've always looked up to Kobe, and I always tell people that was a Kobe move. Right. You know, if you tell Kobe, hey, you're the 5th guy, he's going to say, I'm going to be number one day. Right. And knock on wood, to this day, I'm still doing a lot of work with that guy, and You could call him to ask him if it's true.
But I mean, that's pure confidence right there.
Yeah.
And you basically spoke it into existence. And when you spoke it into existence, it happened.
Yeah, and I think any entrepreneur, construction, even you need to have a motivation every day.
Right.
A challenge.
You
know, like I don't when I tell people get in that room, you know how they say get in the room, get in the building, get whatever. Get there to learn. You don't walk in there like you know it all.
Right.
You know, when I'm around people who are very successful and I'm the small guy, I'm very happy.
Right.
Because I'm learning. You know, and then if I want to be the best of the best, I got to learn from the best GCs.
Right.
You know, I got to learn from the guys that did bad. You know, the ones that did good. If I see 10 GCs, ask them all the same question. Don't just follow one guy. Mm-hmm. That's why I tell advice. I was like, no, people are, hey, I just want to, I follow this guy doing what he says. No, like, you got to do what's best for you, but learn from everybody.
Right.
You know?
Awesome. I love it. I love the story, man. I really do love the story. So kind of coming to the end of this podcast, you know, I kind of like to ask, you know, my guests, what do they like to do on your free time? I know that, you know, you work, I see on your story, you work 7 days, you just had a kid. Yeah. How do you manage your time on there? Because there's a lot going on.
Shit, I want to know too. No, I think I have a great wife, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my wife.
Love it.
You know, she's been with me from the beginning, and, you know, Amateur General Construction is woman-owned business. You know, she's 50% owner, we're both 50-50.
I love it.
You know, so she's the behind the scenes, the one that has to deal with the stress when I get home. But I think what we do is I love softball. You know, I play softball. I take my dog out. You know, right now we have the baby. You know, so everything's about the baby. So we're trying to adapt to the new life. But before that, it was always... people are like, man, you're not tired? I was like, yeah, I'm tired, but there is 24 hours in a day. Mm-hmm. We all have the same time. You just got to, people sometimes just need to, like I said, find that motivation to do something, to get up. Because, like, you know, you run a lot, right? Mm-hmm. Your body's beat up every time you run.
100%.
You know, like yesterday, it was 8:30 when I got home, and I was like, fuck, like, I don't want to go to the gym. You know, like, I had already ran 4 miles with my dog.
Right.
But I was like, I needed to de-stress.
Right.
I got up. I didn't want to get up. Like, okay, you get up. You know, but free time is softball. I love to run, walk my dog. And before we had the baby, me and my wife, we would go out, you know, twice a week to dinner.
Yeah, I see
you know, we go out.
Traveling.
You know, yeah, we traveled.
Love it, yeah.
A lot, you know. But now with the baby, you know, it's we'll see where it takes us. but it's fun, you know. Like, you come home now, and you know you have your wife, and you see a little baby, you know. So it's I'm ready for the new things I'm gonna have to do.
It's fulfilling, right?
Yeah, with the baby.
I love it. So, somebody watching this, what advice would you give them if they want to become a general contractor?
If you want to be a general contractor, and like I have 2 rookies on my team, I tell them all the time, you know, if you're gonna be a general contractor, be different. You know, like
elaborate on that.
The reason I tell them is that there's 3 contractors, right? There's the guy that makes, I don't know, let's say, what is it, $200 an hour, $100 an hour, $65 an hour. You know, it's levels. Okay. You know, it's levels. And I tell them, a lot of guys, when you be the guy, the $200 an hour guy is the guy that's different. When I say different is that if we have the reason I say different is because it's the reason I try to be. When you're doing a job, always find a way. You say yes, and even if you don't know at the moment how you're gonna do it, YouTube University, you know. But it's when I be different, you gotta think outside the box, like every detail, you know.
Yeah.
Because detail will get you far in life.
Right.
You know, detail, like we call it 330 seconds. Like, that's the bare minimum that we'll let it be off. Mm-hmm. A 330 second is less than a hairline. I mean, then like eyelash. Sorry. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's in your finished work. You know, be humble and keep your word, because there's a lot of, you know, a lot of crooked ones.
Right.
You know, but I think the reason I say if you do good, you'll do better. Good things will happen. Because when life was tough, I used to tell my uncles, hey man, like, why is life so hard? You know, he was like, hey, you do good, it's gonna go good.
Right.
You do bad, it's gonna go bad.
Uh-huh.
You know, he said it in Spanish, you know, but that's why it took a little while for me to say it in English because I said it in Spanish. But when I say different, I think those are the keys. Is your attention to detail. You're gonna lose money, and when you lose money, go out for a run. You know, but that's what I'm saying when being different, because a lot of guys, they see the money.
It's just the money.
It's the money. They hear all these stories. They see you're doing this and you're doing that, and it's not about the money. And money will come, but it does not come overnight.
That's true.
You know, because it's a competitive industry. If somebody tells you they're working 24/7, you better be working 25/8. You know, because you got to outwork that person.
Right.
You know, you could be the best of the best. If an immigrant kid could do it, who had to be with a single mother and 3 kids, I'm not where I want to be yet.
Right.
But, you know, I told it before I die, it's going to be Amador, general, and engineering construction. That's the big goal.
That's the goal. So 5 to 10 years from now, is that what you plan to? That's
the goal, yeah.
So you said, what were the 3 that you said? Which was the construction side?
You pay attention to detail. Detail is very important.
Dollars are have you heard that quote? Dollars are in the details.
No.
Dollars are in the details. But
you
when you said that you wanted the company to be at a certain point, you said it was going to be structural or something?
It's going to be, right now it's Amador General Construction.
Okay.
So it's going to be Amador General Engineering Construction. The reason is because I want to be an engineer.
Okay.
You know, I never went to, I got my GED 2 years ago. I told my wife I didn't want to do it. She said, go get it. But thankfully she's told me to do it, you know, so that's the reason I got it, because when I say also be different, I don't like to depend on people. You know, that's why you got to learn it all. And sometimes there's a job, right? It's $100,000. You need an engineer. I'm not saying I'm not going to charge the same as him, but sometimes you have to wait on somebody.
Right.
You know, I don't like to wait, you know, because when you want to be the best, you got to move.
Right.
You got to move quick. So if that's the only thing that sometimes in jobs, okay, I don't have an engineer, or sometimes they're too busy or something, you have to like, it's, that's the missing puzzle that I have. You know, it's, and I love math and I love the drawings, you know, so it's something that I want to get before I die. I tell my wife that.
Structural engineer, is that?
Basically, let's say you want a frame here, right? To move this wall, if it's a lumbering wall, you're going to need an engineer. Because they have to measure calculations, all that stuff. So basically, they're the ones that give you the blueprints.
Yeah, that's like the
actual page.
The actual page, like that's what people think of when they think of construction. They see that blue page, that whole layout, and then that's what that's what I think whenever I think of like construction.
and then here's another. Don't always follow what that says. It's not always right.
It's not always right.
You know, it's a good feeling when you could, like I said, you're in that room, and even if you could have a conversation about why it's right or wrong, but that's a good feeling that you get. And the reason I say it is because a kid who didn't go to college, who didn't go to high school, I don't know the big words, just being able to tell, hey, you know, you're wrong, buddy. You know, it's something that puts the fire in me to like, I need that. Like, I need that piece of paper.
Right.
You know, like it's the same thing when I needed the GC. You know, I didn't have the paper. I could build you that, but I don't got that damn paper.
Yeah, so that's what you worked hard for.
Yeah, you know, so it's a long goal, but you know, it's I think I've accomplished some crazy goals. Yeah. Yeah, and so I think sky's the limit.
Sky is the limit.
And you could do anything in life.
I love it. I love the story. It's Oscar. I always call you Amador.
It's okay.
I love the story, Oscar. Now, if people want to find you, or if they want to, you know, add you or anything like that and get in contact with you, maybe they want some of their things done or even hear some information from you, where can they find you?
I tell people that I always give up my Instagram. You know, and the reason is I think it's a big of the future because website, I have a website. I'm not really a website guy. For me, it's easier to, you know how it is, easier to put on Instagram. So you can find me. It's Amador General Construction. You know, you can find my Instagram. All you got to put is, I tell people, if you're sitting right next to me, I just type in, what is yours is Clutch, right? If I just type CL on search, it's gonna pop out because these phones read each other. Right. You know, so in the website, you got to type the whole damn thing. You know, but I think it's nothing wrong having a website. You know, like but it's I use more my Instagram. I post every day. I tell people it's free advertising, and I might talk a lot, post a lot, but I'm just trying to show people that we pay attention a lot to what we do.
Awesome. I love it. And there you have it, guys. Oscar Amador with Amador General Construction.